Okay, welcome everybody to the Wednesday team call. Today is May 17th, and we have a special guest with us today, Alyssa Galios. She is going to share her story and some amazing tips with you guys today. I'm going to introduce her properly after we go through a couple of announcements. Remember that the Beachbody All Access Challenge Pack is still on promotion. I want to give a small example or experience about like stepping outside your comfort zone a little bit and talking to those people that you would call like your dream team people, the people that you don't invite to your team because like they're already super successful or they have their life together more than most part. Because I usually attract people that are really struggling financially, really need to get in shape, and they become amazing coaches. But there's people out there that will make amazing coaches on your team that are like ready right now, as I would say, like kind of like Alisa is. And you'll hear that from her story today. Carl Deichler came to Provo, a little private meeting, and he wanted to face like the hardest objection. So I'm like, I don't really have a lot of objections to things. So the people I attract are not like that. But I began to have some great friends that are CEOs of companies in Utah. And I brought all 5 of them. One of them runs a charity for cancer patients and helps them experience like baseball with the pros and have kind of like Make-A-Wish Foundation type thing. One of them owns like vacation rental property management company, and another one is like wealth management, owns his own company. And so I'm like, I'm just going to invite these guys. These are my friends. Like they're not a part of Team Beachbody because they're very successful and busy. I invited them to this meeting, and afterwards we were just standing around talking. They're like, okay, let's Beachbody on Demand, Shakeology. I need this stuff in my life. Like, let's do a challenge together. And they're friends with Rudy from the Notre Dame football team. Like I met Rudy last year at a charity event. So Rudy is going to be in our challenge group with these guys. And it was all from just like not saying like these guys don't want to be a part of Team Beachbody. They're already successful and whatnot, and just making the invite. So think about that when you're inviting. When you can reach out to people like that, they're going to help you connect you with people that are going to be amazing for your challenge groups and your teams as well. So with that being said, the only announcement I have other than that is to remember that Coach Summit is coming up July 13th through the 15th. It's in New Orleans. It is for everybody. A lot of times a new coach does not know that there's no requirements to be. You don't have to be like even an Emerald coach or a Diamond or whatever. You don't have to be anything but a Team Beachbody coach committed to coming and being a part of the amazing event. There's 25,000 people that are going to be there. You're going to hear from the best coaches in the company as they teach workshops. You're going to see people. You're going to see my favorite part is always watching the Beachbody Challenge winner. Like they win $100,000 for their transformation. Like everybody, like 25,000 people crying. Like it's like an amazing experience to see the lives transformed and be there firsthand. So if you don't know about that or Summit or how to get there or what's involved, please reach out to me or your upline coach and just ask. I know I have coaches right now looking for roommates. They've already booked rooms, like room with somebody. Like if you want to be there, we'll help you make it happen. So just make the commitment to come. The majority of the success stories that I've heard have to do with somebody being at Summit and making a switch in their life. So ask me if you want to be. Also, if you're on this call, you're part of this team. In the Team Dynasty page, I went live this morning. We're doing an Elevate to Diamond push group, which we're starting on Monday. This upcoming Monday, the 22nd, I believe is the date, and it runs through July. So check that in the Team Dynasty page. We want you to be a part of that. We're going to have some cool little prizes. And now I'm going to introduce Alisa. I don't want to miss like any of the steps because she's done some crazy awesome things. So I'm going to be looking over here, but know that I'm looking at you guys. Okay. Alisa started coaching in July of 2016. They've built their team to 101 coaches in their team. She's a Success Club 5 All-Star, 2 months from being a Success Club 10 All-Star. And here's the thing that I'm super inspired by is between her, you can see her husband on here, Jay. Between Alisa and Jay, they hit between Success Club 30 and 50 every month since, I believe, July last year. Every month they have between Success Club 30 and 50 in both accounts since July of last year. So they're helping an incredibly large amount of people, changing and impacting lives. Last month was her best month ever, I believe, with Success Club 56. currently, like, guys, remember that she started in July of last year. They are ranked number 209 in the race for the elite top 10. So their team is number 209 in the entire company of like 400,000 coaches. I see Kara up there dancing. Both her and Jay, her husband, are one-star qualifying. So both of them are one-star diamond qualifying. And she was recently featured on the Team I Am Team Beachbody podcast. That is on the, if you don't know where that is, go to podcast, download Team Beachbody podcast. She was just recently featured on there. She has made Beachbody her full-time, and I just learned as well that her husband Jay has left his job. So in less than a year, they haven't even been a coach for a year. Beachbody is their sole income for their family. So with that being said, they're going to have some valuable information, tips, advice, storytelling for you that's going to really help you guys know how to take your life and your business to the next level. So with that being said, Alisa, I'm going to pass the time over to you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Scotty. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, cool. So thank you for the intro. That was really sweet. And thank you to everybody that's on the call today. So I know how precious everybody's time is. I love that we've got a little one on the call today. That's great. But I love that you guys are here and that you took the time out of your day to listen to this. So I'm really hoping to make this impactful for you. I'm hoping you'll come away with a few takeaways that will help you in your business. And I am super excited about today's topic. So I hope you guys are really excited too, but I was trying to come up with a topic for today's call. I blocked out an hour in my schedule to sit down and think about it. And I sat down, and within 15 seconds, I was like, I know what I'm going to talk about. Because honestly, this is just so close to my heart. So what we're talking about today is how to make authenticity your mantra. And authenticity isn't just important for your business, it's important for your life too. And this topic, like I said, it hits very close to home for me. Living my life authentically has been a huge priority for me the last 6 years or so. And it's also served me extremely well in this business, as it turns out. So today we're going to dig into how to build your business into a successful one in an authentic way that feels good for you. But first, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a background story on me so that you can kind of understand the context, kind of where I've come from, and give you an idea of, this business that looks like it's exploded in 1 year, but kind of the work I even put into this prior without even really knowing what I was doing. We'll get there. So I'm going to start kind of back at the beginning, and then we'll get to the lesson. But so to go back, I got married very, very young. I was actually 20 years old at the time, so I was just a little baby. And I married one of the most incredible human beings I have ever known. He was amazing. We went into the marriage super excited about where we were going to go with our lives. We actually, during our premarital counseling and stuff, talked about how we were going to change the world and impact it for God and make this big positive impact. And what's crazy is that very shortly after getting married, instead of changing the world, we sort of let the world change us. And especially for me, if I'm going to get really real, really honest with you guys, very authentic right here, once I married the man of my dreams, I became kind of obsessed, which is sad to say, with all things material and making everything else in my life match my perfect marriage, even though there's no such thing as perfect marriage. But I really wanted, that fancy job title. I wanted that big house. I wanted that nice car. And I wanted to achieve these things very quickly. So unfortunately, the sparkle of worldly things took a huge toll on the first 3 years of my marriage because I worked super long hours. So during these 3 years, I attempted to jump through the ranks of the startup community here in Seattle, and I did. I actually eventually became the COO of a startup incubator here in the city, and we served hundreds of entrepreneurs every week, helping them start their own businesses. I was making really great money. I was leading a team of incredibly talented people, which was really fun, but I was working close to 60 hours a week and sometimes more. And on top of all of that, my husband was actually working in the car business. And for any of you guys who know anything about car dealerships or that whole world, that's crazy long hours too. There's no break, you're always working. So Those long hours and our fancy titles allowed us to save up enough money to be able to buy kind of my dream house by the time I was 24. So at this point, we had the titles, we had the house, the job, the decent cars, but we were not taking care of our marriage, and we were definitely not taking care of ourselves. We did not spend near enough time together. Like, you cannot fit meaningful time into like 60-hour weeks when you're both working 60 hours. It's very, very hard. And we didn't even have a plan of how to like get out of that. That was just kind of our goal until we like retired early at 60 or something. So we were running 1,000,000 miles an hour, and we had no idea like how out of whack our priorities are. Like, it's funny because now looking back as I'm talking about this, I'm like, I'm horrible. I don't know how I did this, but I have to give myself grace because at the time I didn't realize it. I was just going. During that hustle and bustle season, in order to kind of put on the best show, because I was all about, I don't know why, but I was all about, looking like a certain way and that my life would be a certain way. So I decided to start my own blog, basically to assert myself in the startup industry. So I wanted to make even more of a name for myself. And this is where things get kind of crazy. So I'm sitting at my office, at my desk. I'm working on my new site. It's a Tuesday, like literally like 11 o'clock on like a Tuesday. And I'm sitting there typing along, and my husband calls me from his office out of the blue, which is super random because, again, we're both like heads down, like working all day long. We didn't really take time to call each other in the middle of the day. So I was like, why is he calling me? This is kind of weird. Right away when I picked up the phone, I knew something was wrong. So he sounded frantic. He was out of breath, which is super not like him. He's a very like calm individual, and very like people like him because he brings like peace to wherever he like goes. Very calm. And I was like, this is not like him. This is super scary. And he said, I need you to come and get me. I need you to take me to the hospital. Something's wrong. So right there and then I knew that something was going to change. And even in the moments that I was literally sprinting from my office, I told my boss, like, literally, I'm leaving, something's wrong, sprinted out of the office, sprinted down the stairs, and just the whole way down, I am just praying, and my life is like flashing before my eyes. I'm just like, I just had this horrible feeling. After a ton of testing and 2 weeks in the hospital, at the age of 24, we actually found out that Nick had a very rare form of cancer, and it was already stage 4. So with that diagnosis, obviously, came a huge shift in how our time was spent. If you guys don't know, the stages of cancer go from 1 to 4, and 4 is as bad as it can get. So it was a sharp smack in the face for me to recognize what I had given up. So much time with my husband for what, right? I had given up so much time, and here I was facing a doctor that told me that he would only live for another 6 months. That's what they told us at first. For nothing that mattered anymore. None of that mattered in that moment once I learned what was going on with him. So suddenly and thankfully, like silver lining to all of that, the rest of our time we spent very much together. So we both took time off from work right away to figure out how to save his life, obviously. And not only did we have like a ton of doctor's appointments, but we had to actually travel across the country because his cancer is so rare. It's a 1 in a million disease that actually nobody in the area treats it. So you have to travel like all over the place to find people who will even talk to you, which is kind of crazy. But we became very intentional during all that time, rebuilding our lives around the right priorities from that moment on. We both recognized that we had played a part in kind of the path that our marriage had taken in our relationships with God and our relationships with each other, and decided we were going to change things from that point forward. So a lot of that soul work, research, and reprioritizing my life basically bled into my blog. So remember at the beginning, it was very purely professional. That literally lasted only 3 weeks before he was diagnosed. And once he was diagnosed, from that point forward, my writing started to become like therapy for me. So my blogs became much more personal, and I started sharing a lot of what was going on in my life, mainly at first just for friends and family to keep them updated on our journey. But eventually more and more people started to read it. We spent the next 2.5 years fighting cancer, and we experienced like every kind of up and down you could imagine during the process. So during his one and only remission, which was supposed to last decades, like they literally told us he was cancer-free, supposed to last for like 20 plus years, I became pregnant with our daughter. And shortly after Nick was born, or she was born, Nick was enrolled in hospice care, and I became his at-home nurse. So I spent 5 months sitting on the edge of my husband's hospice bed, nursing my brand new baby in our huge master suite in our gorgeous house. And I knew during that time that everything for me was going to change, and that my priorities I would never allow them to get so out of whack again. I never wanted to fall back into that place where my priorities were so messed up, because I saw just how little that stuff mattered in this time. My best friend and husband passed away when our daughter was just 9 months old, and I became a widowed single mom at 26. So as you can imagine, I was forced to look at my life and every moment leading up to that point and decide what had mattered and what hadn't. I knew that I would need to find a way for the rest of my days to live out my potential and serve the world like I had planned to from the beginning, and be a very present person for my daughter. So a few years after losing Nick, I was still blogging, because obviously I needed a ton of therapy, right? Lots of blogs. So I was blogging about the new handle on my faith, what I had found to be true during my spiritual journey through all of this, about being a single young widowed mom and how to set your life's priorities. So much of my blog posts were aimed towards serving others and helping them to hopefully learn these lessons without having to go through what I went through. But I felt so ready after a few years of this to do something bigger than just talk about these things, right? I was done talking about them, writing about them. I wanted to do something more, but I had absolutely no idea at this point how I was going to do that. So I actually was working as a contractor at the time doing content creation for entrepreneurs, which content creation is like basically making like the content for a website or a brochure or blog post for other companies. So I wasn't writing about things I was passionate about unless I was actually working on my own blog or like my own stuff. And when I did try to break off of that, because working for other people and writing about like tattoo lip liner, that was one of my main clients, writing about that stuff that didn't matter to me, I decided I was going to take a break and just write about what I was passionate about and see where that took me. But honestly, what I found is that it was very lonely. So as a single mom of a toddler, I craved adult human interaction. And at home, any stay-at-home parents will know this. Like, you guys will feel me on this. I was just so dang lonely and I needed to talk to people. So that wasn't working either. A friend and mentor of mine actually suggested that I become a life coach. And this is kind of funny because at first I literally laughed. I was like, me? Really? No. And then after some more thought and some more research and his continuing to encourage me in that, I prayed a little bit more about it and I decided, you know what, like maybe this is something that I could do. This would get me interaction. This would allow me to actually, make an actual change in people's lives, maybe more than a blog post. So I'll try this. So I decided to give it a go. So I'm in the middle of launching my own life coaching business. I decided I was going to be a kick butt single mom. Like, I had gotten to this point where I just accepted it, even though, it took me a long time to get to this point. But I got to this point where I accepted it, and I decided I was going to make the best out of my life from this point forward. So in the middle of launching my life coaching business and trying to figure out how to be a good mom to a crazy, crazy, crazy toddler, plot twist, Jay plops into my life. So Jay had been an old friend of Nick's, and we reconnected after not seeing each other since Nick's funeral, which had been years prior. And it's so crazy, you guys, because very quickly, somebody that I knew more so as an acquaintance, he was very close to Nick, but I was not close to him at all. Suddenly, all these things started to make sense, and a million broken puzzle pieces started to fit together in these super unexpected ways. I was like, oh. So a year after Jay and I reconnecting, this last June, we got married. And he adopted my now 4-year-old daughter in October. So it has been a crazy whirlwind of a journey. But we've actually known each other for almost a decade now, which is nuts. But we've been insanely happy together and super focused now on living our lives according to our priorities, according to our values. And we use kind of what Nick and I learned through our journey every single day to make sure that we're honoring him and that we're honoring kind of the life that God gave us. So I did my first challenge group just as we were approaching our wedding. I had been struggling to make it to the gym. I was super busy again. And the autoimmune disease, I have an autoimmune disease too, but that I had been fighting since I was 19 was taking a huge toll on me. So I was spending a lot of time on the couch. I was super fatigued. I was feeling incredibly sick, and I knew I needed a change. I had experienced a little bit of improvement in my health when I had actually switched my diet when Nick was sick and we were trying to help his cancer by eating healthier. I had eaten healthier, and that I had noticed a change in me. So I decided, like, I need to change my health again, like right now, or I'm just going to spend the rest of my life on the couch. And that's not what I want to do. I promised I was going to change the world. That's what I got to do. So I knew I needed something, but I didn't know what I was going to do. And I heard, so through actually a friend of Jay's, she had posted about an online challenge group. And I saw the post and I was like, what is that? I have no idea what that is. But it said like fitness in it. It said like, you know, eat better. And I was like, okay, like this might be something that would work for me. And when I reached out to her, she's like, you can like fit this into your life. And at the time I'm like, are you sure? Like I am a busy mom. I was still single at the time. Like Jay and I were engaged, but you know, not married and not working on that together. So single mom, I was planning my own wedding. I was building a house, actually raising a crazy toddler and working. And I was like, how in the world am I going to fit this in? But she assured me I'd be able to. Then she told me that it included some kind of shakes, and I got super sketched out and was like, hold on. And for like a week, I had to go and like research everything about Shakeology and make sure that it made sense, just because I had been super picky. As much as I wasn't watching portions and stuff, I was very picky about the food that I was putting in my body because of what I went through with Nick and all the research I did on cancer then. So I was like, okay, like hold the phone. I need to know what's going on. Once all the research cleared out and I was pleasantly surprised, I was like, okay, I'll give this thing a try. It was crazy because I had no idea at the time, but the challenge group ended up being the perfect stepping stone to where I was eventually destined to be, and made it very clear that life coaching, like in and of itself, was never supposed to be my thing, but it was a great stepping stone. So the week Jay and I got back from our honeymoon, I began running my own challenge groups because I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know, like I signed people up before we left for our honeymoon, but I didn't know like exactly how it was going to work. But I was like, I'm just going to take this a day at a time. And even if only 2 people join my challenge group, at least I am affected like 2 people's lives in a positive way. Cause I knew what the challenge group did for me. Because in those first 3 weeks, like I lost 6 pounds. I actually lost 2 dress sizes, which wedding dress sizes are weird, but they had to cut out like 2 wedding dress sizes, which was expensive for alterations of my dress, which was crazy. And so I felt this huge shift in my energy. My energy was way different. I actually started within 2 months of doing the challenges, weaning myself off of my steroids for my autoimmune disease. And I wasn't seeing any negative effects, which had not happened for me before. So I started running my own challenge groups, and that was not even a year ago, like Scotty said, which is so crazy. And it's been like a crazy whirlwind, amazing thing since then, because I have helped so many people, and I don't even want to like number numbers because the number doesn't matter, even if it was just 1. But I get messages now from people who are like, thank you so much. Thank you so much that you invited me to do this. And I'm like, yes, I'm paying it forward. And it's the best. So okay, back on track. So let's see. So throughout this whole process and the last 6 years of my like totally roller coaster life, if you guys are listening to this, you're probably like, holy smokes, I don't even know like where to stand right now. I've maintained a super real presence with my community of friends online, and I update them often. So it's easier for them to follow along than me doing this in like 4 minutes. But I shared everything that I thought anyone might possibly be able to relate to. So when my blogs continued to gain traction the longer I blogged, I didn't let all those eyes deter me from sharing my truth. I just continued to be real. So I shared through the ups and the downs, and you know, some of the downs, like I shared through the torment of grief, the doubt that I had in God and his goodness, through the uncertainty of my future, the loss of my husband. I've actually blogged through 2 miscarriages. and my fight to live a positive and authentic life. So my second chance at life. I've also been very open about the details of love after loss and kind of what that's looked like for me. So I've always shared my reality. I've always shared like little bits of my world. And I truly attribute so much of my success in this business to the fact that I have humbly and willfully shared my authentic self consistently for years. So what is in this for you, right? Like, enough about me. What can you take away from this? How do you build a successful and authentic business without a story or a background like mine? So you do it with a story like yours. We are going to go over 6 keys to making authenticity your mantra. And here we go. So number 1, first you need to figure out your priorities. Now, I don't have to remind you guys that life is short. You just listened to my story. Most of you, if you've lived long enough, you've experienced loss firsthand. And if you hadn't, I know that there are so many stories out there that you've heard that are similar to mine. Like, life is short. So I want you, with that in mind, to think about something. I want you to look back at yesterday and how you spent the last 24 hours and think about whether or not those 24 hours were spent in the way that would line up with your priorities now. And if you have no clue what your priorities are, or you don't know if your priorities are off, we're going to go over that too. But spend some time like talking to older generations. That's a great way to get an idea of maybe how your priorities should be. Ask anyone you know who might be nearing the end of life what really matters to them now. That sounds weird to us because, I don't know, we're American, I think maybe. But honestly, most people that are nearing the end of life, they are honored when you ask them these questions. And it makes them feel like they can impact somebody else, like before it's too late, right? Not one of the people you talk to, if you get the guts to talk to somebody, not one of them will tell you that they wish they spent more time making more money or going after fame or fortune. So I want you to really think about this deeply. Think about why you're on this planet and make progress every day in those areas that you can, which we're not all perfect. This doesn't have to be crazy pressure. There's always grace, but we all know that we're not promised tomorrow. And I think it's very important to keep that thought at the forefront of your mind without being morbid. So my priorities were all out of whack for 3 too many years. But when Nick got sick, I started reworking those and like reorganizing them, right? So now my number 1 priority is my relationship with my creator. My number 2 priority in my life is my family. So my daughter and my husband, Jay. And my number 3 priority is helping people to see what's possible in their own lives. Everything else for me comes after that. So what's truly amazing about all of this is that I've been able to build this business in a way that totally aligns with my priorities because it allows me to take care of myself first and foremost. I can pour into people around me. I have more control over my days, and I have energy to live my life the way I want to live it. And taking care of me, to like bring that back to my priorities, taking care of me means more time with my creator. I'm way better at scheduling that time now because I actually have structure to my day. It means me showing him that I recognize that this life is a gift and that I'll treat it that way. Even in another sense, it means me honoring Nick because I've now outlived his lifespan by like 2.5 years, which like blows my mind. So I better be making every day count, right? Taking care of myself also allows me to be a better mom and a better wife, to take care of my family. I'm much less stressed when I work out, when I take care of myself, obviously not being in pain. So my autoimmune disease was very painful. I actually also have 5 bulging discs in my neck and my back from a car accident. And that pain has almost completely gone away, which I used to be in constant, at least chronic, a little bit of chronic back pain all the time. So it's kind of amazing to think how much this has changed, not just my relationship with God and, you know, my own health and being a mom and a wife, but also that I now still have the energy left over somehow to help people all day long and be an encourager. And this gives me this platform where I'm able to tell my story and help people figure out their own priorities and how to get so many aspects of their lives under control. So Not to mention all of that good stuff, I get paid good money to do all of this, which is crazy. And Beachbody, as you know, doesn't guarantee any level of success or income from the Beachbody coaching opportunity. And income is purely based off of each individual coach's own personal diligence, skill, and effort. So yes, it is hard work. And I have been and will continue to work hard. But what the heck is this fulfilling that you don't have to work hard for? Like, honestly, if you think about it, what makes a success so sweet, right? Or a best relationship so fulfilling is knowing that you showed up and made it happen, right? It's knowing that you worked for it. When you get something handed to you, it just doesn't feel as good. So some questions you can ask yourself if you're trying to figure out your priorities. What are your core values or the beliefs that you won't ever budge on? What do you want to be known for? What do you want to prove is possible? What is your ultimate vision for your family and for yourself? And what do you want to do before your time on earth comes to a close? I can post these somewhere too if you guys can't write fast enough. And you can use these questions to figure out your priorities, and then remember to reassess your priorities often to make sure you're living your life accordingly, because these things will change as your life continues to change sometimes. So mine did. Number 2, so second point is to figure out your story. So everyone has a story, and everyone's story is different, and all of our stories evolve and change over time. Your story is different than your why, and it's going to be different than your priorities. Your story is the compelling bullet points or short essay that got you to where you are today. It's your truth wrapped up and shared with your emotions attached to it. So truth wrapped in emotion. And this is how you help people to see themselves in you. This is how you will be able to relate to others, and others will be able to relate to you. What I love about what we do as coaches is that if you're doing it right, none of this ever feels gimmicky or salesy at all. You do not have to sell a thing. You just have to tell. And it's funny because people, when I tell them, you'd be a great coach, they're like, I'm not a salesperson. I'm like, dude, I'm not either. Like, not at all. I don't like selling. So this is amazing for me. So finding your story could be its own call, like all on its own. Like I could do a whole call on that. But to get you started, think about a few things. So think about, how have these programs helped you? How is your life different from before versus now? And how has this business or opportunity changed your life so far? They allow you to get your life in order and get back to a healthy state. And with the busiest schedules in the history of mankind, having a simple blueprint to achieve health is needed desperately by like a large percentage of our Earth's population. So what's awesome is that Beachbody's already done the rocket science. Like, coaching is not rocket science. They've already done all of that for us. Our programs absolutely work, and you don't have to sell them. You just get to tell your honest to God stories. Like, I don't like embellishments, so I like to tell my stories. And when I tell you that I went from horrendous back pain 100% of the time to hardly any back pain now, I'm telling the truth. Use your same story. And whether or not it's that impactful, or it's just that, you know, your acne went away or whatever it is, like that's still going to be impactful to other people, because everybody relates to different people, right? Some people are going to relate to me and some people aren't, and that's totally fine. Just tell your story. So at this point, if you've gone through these first 2 steps, you now know what your priorities are. You know what your story is. And a lot of you, if you've been doing this for a little while, you probably already know what your why is. You might have gone over that with your upline coach, but I didn't want to talk about this subject without going into that at least a little bit. So number 3 is figuring out your why. I want you to be very crystal clear and very honest with yourself about your why. I know sometimes when our upline coaches ask us for our whys, we're going to give them maybe something that you think might sound good to them or that might feel good to them or whatever. Like, that's fine if that's what you want to give them, but make sure you know your why for you. Make sure you know why you're here. Your why is the answer to why you're coaching. It's, what is this going to do for you? Your why has to move you deep in your soul. And for me, my why is because I want to spend quality time with my family, because I want to live a long and healthy life and help others to do the same. And I want to make a huge positive impact on this world. I know Beachbody can help me do all three of these things, and it already has. So you need to just figure out yours, right? Why are you here? Why did you become a coach in the first place? Why is this work important to you? And how will achieving your vision help you change your life or the lives of those around you? Whatever it is, make sure that it's a big deal and make sure that you can taste it. So I want you to think about how you're going to feel when you achieve your goals, and like, what about your life would change? Imagine how different it would look. Use your bulletproof why for when you go through hard times as a coach, which every single coach will tell you that this happens, and this literally happens to all of us. It's already happened to me. We're going to go through a time we're like, oh, this is hard, or this is frustrating, and I don't know if I want to do this. So at that point, if you have your priorities, your story, and your why, you're going to be bulletproof. There's not going to be something that's going to stop you, no matter what hiccups or challenges you're facing. So now that you have all those three things, this is going to produce a ton of content for you, or it should, right? Because if you look at each of these, you should have at least 10 different angles or 10 different stories on each of these topics that you could like come from for like posts and content and things like that. But how do you share all of that, right? So number 4, and kind of to explain that. So I want you to come from a place of gratitude from, it doesn't matter like where you're sharing. If you're sharing in messages, in person at the grocery store, or in posts or whatever, I want you to always come from a place of just absolute gratefulness. Your emotions, your vibe, your posture, whatever you want to call it, that stuff gets read between the lines. And what I mean by that is just like they say to smile when you talk on the phone, like smile when you type and sit up straight and like get to a place where in your heart you feel confident and you feel good about your story. You feel good about what you're sharing with other people. Have confidence in what you're offering. Don't try to convince anybody. If you feel like you're nagging or forcing it, then it is not worth it, and just move on to the next person that's ready to be helped. Just bless and release. It's totally fine. People are buying you and they're not buying the product. So know you, be you, and show them who you are. Don't always present, just the polished stuff or just the good stuff. I know Facebook talks about that a lot. And you want to be positive. You don't want to share negative things without a silver lining, but do try to be real with people, give them snapshots of your day. And if for some reason that you're feeling like, okay, Alisa, like I get you're talking about being grateful and all this stuff, but what if I don't feel grateful about these products? I want you, first of all, it'd be weird that you'd be on the call, but I would want you to look about whether or not you have actually completed a Beachbody program through and through, like meal plan included, like literally the whole thing. Because if you have, I can almost guarantee you that you have felt some sort of amazing life shift, either physically, mentally, or emotionally, and sometimes literally all three. And if that's not something to be grateful for, like honestly, I don't know what is, because that's like, it shifted all of that for me. So if you aren't sure about a specific aspect of the products we use, then go do any and all research necessary to become confident in what you are offering people. For example, if you're not sure about the shakes, go do your research. And like I told you, I'm a total weirdo when it comes to what I allow to like go into my body. And I did all that crazy research. If you're concerned about that, go do it. And do not shy away from like finding the truth. Go look. Look at reliable sources, but go look. And if you're feeling like you're not good enough to coach, I want you to realize something too, because so many people, and even when I started, I remember thinking, I'm not good enough to do this. Who would want to sign up with me? I'm not, a like physical personal trainer. I'm not like, any of these things. Why would they want to sign up with me? But now that I've been doing this longer, I realize that any coach, no matter where you're starting from, even if today's your first day, if you have your challenger's best interest at heart, then you are a great coach, okay? And knowing that, for any of us, whether you've been in this forever or just for a little while, also know that knowing you're a great coach, try to make yourself even better. So make a plan, get feedback. Every challenge group I've run since the very beginning, I have a survey on the very last day asking how the groups could be better. And that's actually their last assignment. So I ask, what I can do to improve the challenge groups or how I can be a more supportive coach. Steal that idea. Go do that, because it's been so helpful for me, and I've changed like every single one of my groups. I end up having something I can tweak because of feedback, which is great. So to sum this all up, or at least this point. If you have felt a huge change in yourself because of Beachbody, also know that you don't need to know all the answers. And if you've never even run a challenge group, that's fine too. You don't need to like start out with like all the answers and all the plans for your challenge groups and stuff. If all you have is your priorities, your story, and your why, roll with that and roll with what you know, because you can be enthusiastic, right, about these things. These are your story. There's no like right or wrong story. You can be completely honest and real with those, and people are gonna like feel that off of you. So channel that inner gratitude for what you've been given whenever you talk about our products or the coaching opportunity, and realize that this is something to truly be grateful for. Like I'm not even gonna tell you guys. I'm way too grateful for it, I think. I don't know if you can be though. It's crazy. But okay, so number 5, care enough about people to invite them. So inviting is the number 4, or is the one of the 4 vital behaviors of coaching for a reason. So part of the confidence that comes from, or part of the confidence that it takes from inviting comes from actually doing it. So even if that means sending out your first 100 invites and just getting one person to say yes. If they go through the program and at the end of it, they tell you they are so darn thankful for your invite, those 99 no's become absolutely worth it. And I totally think, that we should lead with love in everything that we do. So when we have somebody that's telling us, like, thank you for this, like, print that out. Like I literally too, I wasn't going to do this, but I'll show you guys. I have like a wall started and it's not done yet, but it's of all the people that have messaged me and said like, thank you so much for inviting me to your challenge group. Like I put that up there so that on hard days, if I'm like feeling nervous about inviting somebody or nervous about doing this, I'm going to look over there and be like, look, there's like 30 people right there that some of them are my friends and family and said that this changed their life. Am I going to quit? Heck no, I'm not. So when you love first, you are going to be thinking about the person when you message people. You're not thinking about the SC points, right? You're going to be thinking about their results and what this will do for them. Oh yeah, there you go, Scotty. He's got like a box full of like thank you notes. That's great. And then you're going to think about the person and not the SC points. When you message them, you're envisioning their results and what this is going to do for them. You're not thinking about your next paycheck, okay? So never forget that on the other side of every social media profile is a person. And that person very possibly needs what you have to offer in their lives. They may not even know it right now, which is totally fine, but open up that conversation, create a relationship, love on those people. Whether or not they ever become a customer of yours doesn't matter, because love is never a bad thing. There's this preconceived notion for coaches that have had huge transformations or backstories, maybe like mine, that coaching is somehow magically easy for us, but believe me, it is not. So I worked, hard and consistently building a community online for 5 years prior to starting this, basically for free. And I have to tell you guys that all coaches have to start somewhere, even with the transformations, even with the background story or background following. We've all had to put in the work somewhere along the lines. We all have to do personal development. We all have to invite, and inviting is not easy for anyone at first. It was not easy for me. But if you can come from a place of gratefulness, like we just discussed, it will not feel like pulling teeth. It will feel like you're offering a gift, which feels really nice. You'll feel like Santa Claus. It's great. So even with all of this, you guys, I feel like I get to invite every day, right? That's my attitude towards this. I never feel like, oh, I have to send 3 invites today. It's like I get to invite 3 people. It doesn't matter if they say yes or no. I get to invite them to an opportunity to change their lives in a crazy, amazing way. So it's actually really exciting that we get that opportunity. We get to do that every day. Some people won't budge until the universe gives them a sign, and remember that sign might be you, okay? It might be your message. So why hold back on this opportunity to change lives? Care enough about people to invite them. And remember, so when you're talking to people too, remember like how grateful you are for, using that attitude of gratitude while you're inviting, how thankful you are that your coach invited you or that they did that post that you saw. That'll help get you kind of in the spirit. So number 6, my last point, and this might be pretty obvious because we're talking about authenticity, but for the love of all things holy, Do not fake it, and be the proof. So 3/4 of what Beachbody tells us to do as coaches is actually designed to help us take care of ourselves, which we just went over in biting, but the other 3 vitals are personal development, working out every day, and drinking your shake and eating right to fuel your body. It's so easy, especially when you're just starting out, to feel super overwhelmed and want to skip like one or all of the things that only relate to you, right? So I know I've already gone through seasons in my business where I'm maybe not keeping up on one or more of these vital behaviors, and it always negatively affects me and bites my business in the butt. This was like in the first 6 months, I think there were like my first 2 months, I was like, I don't need personal development. Like, my life was personal development. I don't need that stuff. Like, who needs inspirational speakers or whatever? And then I started listening to like audiobooks and listening to my coach, who was like, you should probably do some PD. And it's helped me, you guys, overcome so many different things. It's just so important. So, and if you don't know where to start and you don't know like what personal development really is, reach out to your coach and ask them, and they'll help you figure it out. So, let's see. So the number one person, and you guys cannot forget this is a really important point. The number one person in your business is not your hardest working challenger. It is not your upline coach, and it's not even your personally sponsored coaches. The number one person in your business is you. You have to be the priority in your business, which is another reason I love this company, because they encourage that. It's the foundation of our products, for goodness sakes, which is amazing. But if you're taking care of yourself, it will show. So not all of our bodies were meant to look the same, and we do not all need 6-pack abs by any means, but every human being will shine brighter when they're taking care of themselves, and you cannot fake that. Like, literally, that is unfakeable. It's impossible to fake it, and people can see right through it. So if you are skimping on self-care, it will come across in your posts. It will come across in your messages. It will actually come across in conversations with your spouse and with your kids. So Beachbody's not just helping us in this business thing, you know, they're helping us in this life thing too. So do your vitals every single day. We are all just better people when we're taking care of ourselves, minds, bodies, and souls, business aside, but it will also help your business exponentially because you'll be proof of the product. So if you didn't have yourself listed as a priority from earlier on because you thought it was conceited or selfish or petty, go back and add yourself in there, or figure out how taking care of you ties into each existing priority, which is kind of what I've done. So as a Christian, I know I struggled with this at first because I was like, shouldn't I be spending all my day talking to others about God and like not working out, like spending time doing that? But the funny thing is that when I didn't work out and wasn't taking care of my body, I was on the couch, I was depressed, I was working behind closed doors, hiding from life, and being kicked in the tush by my autoimmune disease. Again, like literally, it was horrible. So since taking care of me, it's like I spend 1/2 hour a day to work out, some extra time to plan my meals, and I have way more love and positivity to spread around. And I know that that's making such a big impact on the world. So listening to coaches talk is good and necessary to a degree, but I want you guys to apply what you learned here today, if you learned anything. So I want you to take it and look at how you're going to apply all of this to your business and to your life right now. Write it down and figure that out. I want you to get real with yourself, figure out your priorities, your story, your why. I want you to come from a place of gratefulness when you're inviting people to join you basically on their own journeys of taking care of themselves. And I want you to be authentic in everything you do and know that you are so awesome that you don't need to fake anything, okay? And if you're excited about this and what we're doing, like, be excited about it. Don't be nervous about what other people think. I was nervous at first. It's silly. Don't be nervous. Nobody cares. It's fine. Because life is so dang short, right? Don't be anybody that you aren't. Just be yourself. That was confusing, but there you go. So plus, how much better will it feel to grow your business, right? In a way that feels good to you and feels like true to who you are. So anyway, that's about it. But I hope that was helpful. And thank you, Scotty, for this opportunity. I hope I didn't talk too fast.
No, you did awesome. Alisa, that was absolutely amazing call. I got a full page of notes right here.
Woo, look at that.
I know I put it in the comments, but I want you to know that, like, I read your posts every single day. Like, you're on my list of reading.
Really?
Keisha's on here too. Keisha, you're on my list too of posts that I read. Just because you guys are so authentic in sharing and helping people understand what you're going through and how you feel. Like, it's just authentic. You can feel it, and it's really helped even me. So I want you both to know that as well.
Yay.
I wrote all these 6 steps down, these 6 keys to making authenticity your mantra. So if you could just send some of those things over to me, I'll make sure to share with the team. I was writing as fast as I could, notes I couldn't keep up sometimes, but thanks for giving us so much amazing content today. This is like the meat of what will help you become successful in any area of your life. In relationships, your relationship with God, like you say, is your priority, and helping people. So I know that if we just take that today, like, we can create anything we want in this life and with the Team Beachbody. So I am extremely grateful that you're a part of this team, that you've come into our lives through some other incredible leaders like Keisha, Brigitte, Keisha, Jackie, everybody in that team. We're just grateful as well. I could sense that gratefulness from you in the phone call. So you're not just teaching us this stuff. We can feel it. I could feel it when I called you before. I'm like, man, I never had someone tell me how grateful they are they're a part of this team before. So it just comes out like that, and it's just who you are. So thank you for sharing that with us today. Thank you for being vulnerable with us, teaching us some amazing things. And then I just want to make everybody aware that next week's call is next week's 30-minute mentor call is with Laura Mendenhall. She's the one that teaches the 7-step invite funnel system. I've been gathering some questions from you guys, and she's going to hit on some of them specifically. And so make sure you mark your calendar next week for that call. Then I want you guys to remember, you guys have the opportunity of a lifetime right in front of you to completely change your life, but it'll mean nothing to you if you don't take advantage of it during the lifetime of this opportunity. We'll see you guys next week, and thanks again for being on the call with us today. See you guys later.